Good morning, everyone. It being 9 o'clock on Wednesday, February 9th, I'd like to call the Human Services Committee to order. We could do a roll call, please.
Lewis, Allen, Bates,
Here.
Davist,
Davist here.
Iqbal,
Iqbal present.
Kenyon,
Here.
Pirog, Shepro, Sturgis.
Surges here.
You do have a quorum.
Perfect, thank you. I think we are deferring the minutes for this meeting. We had some technical difficulty getting everything printed and put together, so we'll just defer those to the next meeting.
Okay.
Is there any public comment? None? Any online, Blair? Perfect. Monthly financials are attached. Do we have any questions on any of those? Veterans Assistance Commission.
Good morning. In light of your busy agenda, I have nothing to report that's out of tolerance. Take any questions.
How are you doing? Last year, you had the situation where the warehouse where documents were stored was backed up miserably. Has that logjam cleared in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Okay.
No. It's still causing problems.
In a word, no.
Yeah, it's still causing problems for us. So our inventory remains high. The VA's inventory remains high, but there's nothing more than our staff could do or our veterans could do to make those claims go faster. It's all basically the National Archives and Records Administration in St. Louis. They keep fluctuating their staffing capacity based on the COVID metrics down there.
Okay.
And you have to have people climb shelves to get boxes with files to.
I can't, Jake, I just can't imagine, but we thank you for all you're doing and keeping us abreast. And we look forward to getting back to a normal cadence soon to see full reports, but thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Bates.
Jake, because our veterans are important to us and my dad was a veteran, it makes me wonder if we could be helping you more. Is there any assistance you need from the county board, or should we be bringing donuts to the veterans, or I don't know, is there any way we can help?
I think this board has supported our Veterans Assistance Commission very well, and any issue that I've brought forth to the committee chair has been addressed quickly and satisfactorily. So although I would love to say bring us donuts every day, I think we're in good shape.
Okay, thank you.
Mavis, that was very kind of you to ask. Human Resources. I welcome to the podium Jamie, our official executive director.
Good morning. Couple of things I just wanted to highlight. I mean, everything's within tolerance, so there's nothing particularly unusual to report. If you want to look at the monthly Assured Partners report, I just wanted to bring that up because we are working on our RFP for our health brokerage services right now. And there were a couple of things I just wanted to mention as we're going through that process. We did receive 5 bids for our brokerage services, but at this time, we're really interested in continuing with our current provider. I did want to highlight that they aren't the lowest bidder, but the bidders were generally within about 10%. So they were close in that nature. But a few things I wanted to highlight was we have some very important data analytics that we do get from our current broker. And that was one big consideration in planning to stay with our current broker. If you want to scroll down a page there, Blair.
And we will discuss this in more detail on item 9A.
So I just wanted to highlight some of these data analytics that we do get monthly that you see in your packet every month, where they do break all of this information down for us every month in these reports. There are also data analytics that we do receive from them that don't necessarily, that we receive in more detail, that don't always make it into the committee report, that we continue to review in Human Resources that are also really important to us. And we did just change the plan year. So if you want to go down one more page. So this is 2021. We used to be on a July to June plan year, and just this year we switched over, which has kind of skewed some of our numbers, which is why this number looks so scary, because it was actually split into two separate plan years. So we'll talk, as Mr. Sturgis said, we're going to talk about this a little more down at the bottom, but just wanted to kind of draw your attention to these reports. Sometimes we kind of glance over them and just look at the total, but there is a lot of important detail that we do get here every month.
So Jamie, to back this up from a larger perspective, when we pulled from IPBC and set the goal for a $9 million reserve, it is accurate to say, I believe, that we are reaching that goal faster than anticipated.
Mr. Chairman, what's
Yes.
IPBC? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know.
IPBC was in,
It's Illinois Public Benefits Alliance, I think. or
yes, it is the cooperative that the county was involved with. Rather than managing our insurance policies ourselves,
Okay.
we joined a cooperative that, when we first did it, made absolute sense. It was really quite scary for us to, be self-funded and self-managed, and so we turned to them, only to find out several years later that we were the biggest fish, or one of the larger fish in the bucket, and that maybe we weren't getting the benefits from the group that we thought we would, and that if we in fact broke away, if you will, or pulled from the cooperative, that we could and put our own management team and data analytics in force, we could do everything that they were doing at a much more manageable cost. Is that, Jamie, am I saying that accurately enough to?
Yes, that's correct. And we
Rather
have-
than paying somebody else to do our job, we assumed doing it in our own, but had to put the tools in place to make that happen.
Thank you. I'm
And,
sorry I'm sorry I still need the remedial class, but thank you.
No. And Mavis, it was just before you came on board. So when I was sworn in almost 3.5 years ago, IPBC was just the collective and the managing body that we used to do it. But we paid them a great deal amount of money, plus an insurance broker, plus Mike Baker's team. I mean, we were hemorrhaging money on this, and we have lopped off the management costs of that from hundreds of thousands of dollars to $100,000. And I think last year was 90 some thousand, and this year they're asking for 105 or 108 or something like that. But it was $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year that we've reduced without any disruption in coverage or benefits in any way, shape, or form. And it's taken us some time for premiums that were paid into IPBC to come back to us. If you will, you can look at it as if it was a trust account, and while we put the money in going up front, we finally received our money back, and as we've trued up everything, we're considerably ahead from where we were. Mike, am I embellishing too much for that answer?
Probably, but it's a good thing.
Okay, super. But the point is, we're ahead of pace to get to our $9 million comfort zone. And that comfort zone is the reserves that we will keep in a segregated account, not in general fund, specific to our self-insured retention amount for our health insurance. Jamie, am I?
You're absolutely correct. Our health insurance fund, I mean, it's getting fairly close to that 9 million mark already. And it's only been a couple years.
And we really thought that was going to take us 5 or 6 years to get to, and we're well underway. So we're doing all the right things and making it happen.
Well, hooray.
Yeah, we
Hooray
just got a
for
little
us.
sidetracked with something called COVID, and then
Something.
but this is the final leg. The screen that you see up right now, this is the final leg of this chapter for us, and that was after each iteration that we went through, making sure that we took the health insurance and realigned it to open enrollment. It would be my opinion, and I don't mean to make this as if it's a slanderous comment, but I was never comfortable in any way, shape, or form having a July to July timeframe when the rest of the world worked on a January to December timeframe.
Mhm.
We just weren't in sync with the rest of the world, and it made it very, very difficult to interpret data and do any sort of analytics whatsoever when the dates didn't match. And so this, what you're seeing on screen, these are the new dates for the new policy, which Mike's team went well overboard to get Blue Cross Blue Shield to give us an 18-month pricing rather than a 12-month pricing. But at the end of this, we should really be in fine shape to make some really good decisions about where we want to go. And just remember, every decision we make here has a ramification with union contracts and stuff like that. So it becomes a bigger deal. So Mavis, thank you for the question. Hope I answered it.
Good. Thank you for the answer. Good for us. Hooray.
Jamie, continue.
Another thing I wanted to point out in our reports is, Blair, if you can go to page 27 for me. Workers' comp, just so you know, 2020 was artificially low. I think that had to do with COVID, a lot of people working from home, and the different circumstances around 2020. So when you look at our 3-year, you'll notice that 2021 was higher than 2020. I don't want that to bring anyone concern. This screen that is up right now does show over several years, and you can see how low 2020 was compared to all the surrounding years. 2021, which is now closed, is still lower, and we do continue to trend in a downward direction in workers' comp. So I think we're in a good spot. I just wanted to point that out because if you look at the 3-year, it looks like we've gone up. And although that is true, I think we're still in a good spot. So I just kind of wanted to draw a little attention to that.
And Jamie, IPBC, Intergovernmental Personal Benefit Cooperative.
I wasn't even close.
Google.
So. The next thing I wanted to point out was our monthly training report. This is our mandatory sexual harassment training. And last year, our department put in a lot of time to tracking down each and every person to make sure that we got compliance on this. This year, it opened just a couple of days into January, and we already have over half employees done. So I think the extra work paid off last year. I think it'll be a lot easier this year. People are just, they know they're going to get tracked down. They're just getting in there and getting it done. And that is the end of the reports. Are there any questions?
Jamie, thank you so much. Old business. Resolution amending the Kane County Code to add chapter 30, lobbyist registration ordinance, and repealing lobbying from the Division 3 ethics ordinance. Vincent, can we please gift wrap this one and send it on its way?
Yeah, there's nothing more that I see that needs to be added at this point. The only thing that I may have indicated before is that at some point we should include in the conversation the county clerk. This ordinance would require some responsibilities and duties from that office. So other than that, can take any questions anyone has regarding the ordinance but
Blair, do we have a resolution that we can put up there?
Mr. Chairman, Alan.
Hi, Deb. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you.
There you go.
If there is coordination necessary with the county clerk, is that yet to be done? Do we want to do that before we move it on to exec? Or is that something that just happens simultaneously because it's a slam dunk that the clerk won't have any trouble with it?
Mr. Chairman,
One second, Mo. Vincent, what is your?
Oh, I think it's obviously a discussion that can take place after today's meeting and before exec. And then if there's any issues, that can certainly be addressed at the executive committee. I don't know if it would change really the draft that is presented. So that would be my
Okay.
opinion at this time.
Oh,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir.
Yeah, regarding informing the clerk, 2 years ago, I had a communication with them because the same resolution was up for vote before the old board. And they said there was no problem. I think I still have the email. I believe I sent it to Vince when he first raised the question. So I still have it and they have no objection.
Mo, would you move this forward? And can we get a second? And let's move this from our committee onto exec, please.
Sure, I move.
Wait, second.
And I thank you both so much. Any conversation on this?
This takes out any time limit, any waiting period, correct? Cooling off period?
Correct. There is no cooling period in this ordinance that is not something I saw in the statute, and the statute is specific that you should be very just consistent with the Illinois statute if you're going to have a county ordinance.
All right,
Perfect.
thanks. Thanks, Vince.
Karen, can you call the roll on that?
Allen. Allen.
Alan, I.
Bates.
Bates, aye.
Davis.
Davis, yes.
Iqbal.
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Lewis. Sturgis.
Surges, yes. And Mo, thank you for your hard work on this. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. We have a
Old
second
business.
one coming too.
Old business, item B, adopting training policy to the personal policy handbook. Jamie.
This policy was requested by this committee back when we were talking about tuition reimbursement and having an accompanying policy for training and a procedure around departments and some guidelines around their training and use of their training budget. If you want to go down one more page, Blair, to the.
So Jamie, if I could just set the stage for this, because it's too easy to get confused. This was the genesis of this was the trying to separate continuing education and tuition reimbursement. And while the board has passed the tuition reimbursement portion, this is the next piece up, which I'm calling continuing ed, you're calling
Training.
training. Okay, and those are two totally separate items. The first one that was already passed by the board is items, tuition reimbursement, and that's funded through the riverboat.
Correct. That's funded through the riverboat.
Where does this money come from?
It comes from each department's own budget.
Okay.
Where they do each year budget a certain amount to keep their staff trained and updated.
Okay, is this something that's new? Are we tweaking something that's already been here? The item that already passed the board, we had to go through and align with the IRS and everything else. Where are we with this and why is this here?
Okay. This is brand new. We did not previously have a policy governing training or providing any guidelines around training. This is meant really just to provide those guidelines in the tuition reimbursement. When we edited that, we added the definitions of the education, the tuition versus the work-related education or the training. And we have reiterated those definitions here. So as we broke those two things out into clear separate definitions based on IRS code, we are now providing a policy for each, both managing the tuition, which just passed yesterday, and the training. Now that we have it perfectly defined and everything, guidelines around use of that budget. This policy does have a form that is filled out and sent to Human Resources for approval. That's something that came about in a meeting with department heads, that they would be in favor of having a form that they fill out that does end up going into the employee's file to memorialize that training and that it was completed.
And who signs off for this on that form?
Both the department head and Human Resources.
Okay. And where does the dollar figure or limitations come from? Just from the budget that they've already requested and approved?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and if I can just put this out there for everybody, whenever you're making something that's brand new and adding it into a handbook, somebody 10 years from now will look at this and say, what the heck were they thinking? And all I can suggest to you is that we're doing the best we can at the snapshot in time, given the information that we have today, to try and make a decision and steer a course. And I welcome anybody who has better information and newer intel 10 years from now that would like to correct this. But this is being done in a very positive spirit to try and give some guidance. And if there are committees downstream from us or upstream from us that make corrections to this, there is no ego involved with this. It is not a bruise on us. We are taking our first blush at something and hoping we get it significantly, correct. So, if I can
Sort
go
of
around
like
the,
IPBC.
say that again?
It's kind of like IPBC was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll correct our course as needed, but I think this is a pretty firm jumping in point. So, Deb, do you have any questions on this? Are you okay with this?
I do have a couple if it's okay.
Go ahead.
Did we ask any of the department heads to take a look at this? My reason for asking is this: I don't want to keep any department head from giving training that he or she thinks is going to make for a better employee. Now, I realize that we aren't going to pay for courses that complete educational requirements like French or PE or something like that, but you never know, maybe in the transportation part of our county, they would like to pay for a course to keep everybody physically fit because it makes them better employees. So do the department heads have the wiggle room that they would need to assign people to take courses that, in their opinion, make their people better in their department?
Jamie, you want to?
I think the description you gave regarding a physical fitness course would probably be prohibited by this policy because it specifically talks about recreational type courses. Under those circumstances, that would be provided under a budget different than training. That would be a physical enhancement and wouldn't necessarily be work-related training. However, this is written pretty broadly that anything that improves their ongoing skill set for their position would be permitted. So
Jamie, I think what Deb's asking is, did you speak with the department heads before writing this?
yes, we discussed this in a department head meeting. So everybody was present and we had a discussion. The original iteration didn't have the form, and after a discussion with the department heads, some departments used a form internally. Other departments liked that idea and decided that a single form was a good idea.
Yeah, but does that answer your question?
So they actually welcomed the form.
Thanks. I actually didn't think through my example as well as I should have. And Jamie, there you are all over my example as well. So you're also saying that within a department's budget that they have wiggle room to do things that they need to do. And this policy is our good take at making sure people are learning stuff that helps them with their jobs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mavis, anything?
Chairman? Yes. So this definitely comes under the category of things I should have thought of a month ago. But first of all, I have a question. We have $50,000 of reimbursement money per year, correct, Jamie?
That is not for this in any way, shape, or form.
No, that's for the tuition.
Correct.
I understand that. Do we use that amount every year?
Not even close.
We have not in the past, no. But
Okay.
And
we
that's,
did-
that's why we're revamping some of this in hopes that, in hopes that we can maybe publicize that a little bit more and utilize it.
So this is what I should have thought of a month ago, but in years that we're not using all of that, could we increase the amount of per person allotment per year? I know I'm opening Pandora's box after we, wrapped it up with duct tape, but is that something that we could do if we
We could always
revisit
look at
this?
it, but you voted yes on it yesterday and passed it without those.
I know, and I
So-
thought of this today.
And I'm sure Mr. Cayos, who is online, is taking all of those savings and putting it in a coffee can up on a shelf that we can get to next year.
Put bridge tolls.
Yeah, so I'm sure, yeah, you know what, I don't have an answer for you, but let's get through this one and we can come back and revisit that. Do me a favor though, will you send that to us in an email?
Okay,
And let's try and we can revisit that a bit. But let's stay specific on the tuition, on
Yes,
the,
sir. Aye, sir.
on the training portion.
Okay,
I can just add that we do have some option to do that with the unused funds, to set some aside for a countywide training that Human Resources could use for countywide training. We haven't done that yet. That's a fairly new addition a few years ago. So the problem is we accept the tuition reimbursement applications throughout the year. So if we were to actually use some of that money, it would reduce what was available, and we might exhaust it. So as we've increased the reimbursement rate to 80% from 50 to 80%, we may actually make it through that amount now. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out.
Perfect. Mavis, anything else?
so we would, because we've increased our reimbursement amount, we could use up that 50%, $50,000 faster.
Yes, we
Okay.
could. We'll have to wait and see
No,
what
that's all
happens.
the trouble I plan to.
Oh,
create.
stop. Stop.
moment.
Mark, thoughts?
Back to training. Right. I think this is a really great effort, a step in the right direction. It's a policy and a guideline. So, there's room to maneuver in there, and, department heads, like you said, have welcomed it. It gives them some structure, but plenty of flexibility. So I think we're on the right track.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Michael, I'm sorry, Mo,
No comments.
Michael?
Okay.
It's okay with Mike. All right. And again, for me, somebody's going to look at this at a later time and go, what were they thinking? We're doing the best we can with the information we have today. So,
Probably. Yep.
okay, if we could well, I guess we need a motion and a second to advance this. Kenyon
Move it.
Kenyon moves.
Have a second.
Davis seconds. Karen, if we could call the roll.
Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
It's I.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis, Sturgis.
Surges, yes.
Passes.
Thank you so much. Okay, new business. If I could, it's like I've been in a race to get to this portion because I'm so incredibly uncomfortable with this that I want to make sure I do this right. Mike Baker's team sent us an email months ago saying, hey, we've never asked for an increase in our compensation since we've been with the county, and cost of living, whatever, we need to bump this up a little bit for our next 2-year extension. That caused a little stir in that I believe that we could have just said okay to that if it was within our budget tolerance. Other people thought that it needed to go out to RFP and rebid the entire project. And I'm trying to be as transparent as I can on this. After much debate left and right, I concede that in the times that we're in, it is probably appropriate to go to RFP for this, especially since his annualized budget is, the line item for this is about $100,000. And our non-RFP threshold is 30,000-ish. Is that
Correct, 30,000.
approximately correct?
30,000.
So going to RFP makes sense. Here's my problem. And Jamie, push me right before I step into the, bucket there. My problem is that an RFP in my eyes is sometimes let's go out for a commodity such as buying a truck, and let's see who's going to give us the cheapest price on the truck, giving these features and these amenities and I need 4-wheel drive, I need this engine, and I need to have a snowplow on it, blah, 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 blah. That's not the service that we're giving an RFP for. We're looking for an interactive health insurance partner. And it's not a commodity item. So when I brought that to my contemporaries, and, I challenged the auditor on it, and I challenged Jamie on it, and I challenged Onsick on it. And, we had lively debates and stuff like that. And I've come to, maybe appreciate to some degree where everybody's coming from. Yet again, I look at this and say, when we left IPBC, we embarked on a multi-tier plan that we knew was going to take us at least 5 to 6 years at the quickest pace we could possibly take. And that we didn't know what we didn't know. Meaning, if Mark, you and Mike might be around long enough to remember the war between the county and Blue Cross Blue Shield, when Blue Cross Blue Shield could not get us our own data for us to make decisions on. And the previous county chair went to battle for us with Blue Cross, and Blue Cross said, sorry, we just don't have the technology to do that. So that was an unacceptable, comment. And we embarked on a way to collect that data on our own. And Jamie, if I'm mistaken on this, the product that Mike Baker's team went out and purchased and has begun using and modeling for us is Springbuck.
Yes, that's correct.
It was a major investment for Mike's team to do. And again, I don't need to personalize this for Mike because it was Group Alternatives, which was bought out by Assured Partners, which brings so much more to the table. I'm by all means meaning to say Assured Partners. I boil it down to Mike and trivialize it, and I shouldn't do that. So when Assured Partners does this for us, we have literally each quarter come back to them. Now we need to see this. Now we need to see that. And some of this analytics was stuff that IPBC was doing for us, but it was so far in arrears that we weren't even getting the data quickly enough to respond to it. And so going out, finding somebody, purchasing the software, building the platform. Now we have the data. Now we've stretched the contract. Now we're going to be making a switch to me in the final lap of the race isn't appropriate. Yet I totally understand the need, because it's over a certain threshold, that we have to go to RFP and do this. I believe we've done that. And I believe that if we were to make, Mike's team was not the cheapest, but the differential in cost is minor. And I mean, $8,000, $10,000, it is truly minor. And if we needed to make that jump now and go with the cheapest vendor, even if that vendor did have the Springbuck platform, it could take us 18 months to build that data the way modify Springbuck to accept the data the way we want it. Jamie, am I doing okay so far?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. Where if we can just hold this to one more round, I believe we could go to RFP and say, here's our system the way we want it. And we're just not there yet. So Jamie looked at me and because I asked her point blank, if we made a switch right now, could your department handle this? Or are you going to need to bring another person on? And then that's going to take 6 months to do. And this is just a cluster. On the other hand, I don't want to look to a voter or look to the finance department and say, oh my God, I spent $10,000 that I didn't need to spend. No, we really did. We just saved $3.5 million and we're in the final phase of the platform. Don't switch for 10 grand, but Cliff, it's not your 10 grand. You shouldn't say that. So I'm trying to appeal to you to say, I am in conflict with myself on this. I don't really know where to go with this. I don't want to advocate for somebody that I shouldn't be advocating for. On the other hand, Assured Partners has just done us really well. And Jamie, could you now take my emotions and wrap that into a context that is appropriate?
Certainly. I agree with everything you said. That was all, spot on to what we've been looking at. Of the 4 vendors, other than Assured Partners, one of them did use the Springbok platform. The other 3 did not. They have their own platforms and do provide some kind of analytics, but I do think we would have a loss of our ability to look back and make good choices for the next year if we were to make a change on that right now, because we have been going through so many changes with our plan year and everything. I just think there's a consistency of data, and the timing right now is unfortunate. Of the 4, there were a couple that did have some good merit to them that were a little bit lower, that I think that we could spend the next 2 years getting to know those vendors. And as Mr. Surges had said, going out for RFP again in 2 years, although we're looking to do a 2-year contract and there is extension options, I think at the end of 2 years, that would be good timing for us to look again at this. If we have gotten to know those other vendors a little better, have a better idea of what they can provide us. Within the next 2 years, we're probably going to also be looking at seeing if other health insurance vendors other than Blue Cross might be viable options. So that kind of dovetails together for being a good opportunity for us to align those changes.
Does anybody have questions, Mr. Kenyon?
How much did they want to raise the cost? By what percentage?
I think
Cost
they're-
of living. I mean,
I think it's less than 10% that Assured Partners raised theirs. It's a few $1,000s. I think they were at.
I think they went from 98 or 99,000 a year to 108.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear Mr. Kenyon's question.
Mike was asking how much.
How much percent they want to increase it? And I'll tell you why I'm asking the question.
It was just over the cost of living from my memory.
Social Security says that the cost of living is up 5.5%.
Yeah, it was.
So that's the basement.
Right. It was higher than that. I want to say it was closer to 10, but remember, they haven't raised their price on us in like 5 years. So they're not just changing 1 year's cost of living, they're catching up after 5 years of not changing their price.
And just Mike, to answer your, to add to your question a little bit, how do I say this? Mike's team does this, as well as one of the other people in the RFP are willing to do this on a fixed price. Before Mike's team, we were paying one provider a commission, and that commission was upwards of $240,000 a year on top of other perks that they got from the plan, on top of Mike's team's management for us at $90,000 a year, $8,800 a month or whatever it was. We have done away with those people that are commissionable, and we are just paying that flat management fee. Of the vendors that came forward, I believe 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, were commissionable in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Over and above, and while the commission may not have come directly from the county, it would come from the providers, and that's not a direction we wanted to go.
Correct. So 3 vendors did specifically take commission from the insurance company, which I think affects their ability to be completely objective when giving us advice. I really prefer that they don't take that commission. We actually wrote in our RFP that we want our services quoted strictly as a flat broker fee and to exclude commission. 3 of them did take commission, and the 4th, other than Assured Partner, did say that they may take commission that would not be on the product, that would not affect our rates, but that they would disclose that before doing it. So again, if we were to pursue those other vendors, we would need to have discussions with them, because we would want to stay on a flat broker fee with no commission, just to guarantee we have that objectiveness.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Chairman,
Deb, go ahead, please.
Okay, as soon as taking commissions from other entities comes into the picture, then that changes the whole picture. If we are asking for a vendor to not do that and be loyal only to us, then does that mean that Assured Partners is the only truly responsive vendor?
Jamie, I thought there were two that said they were non-commissionable. Am I mistaken on that?
The other one stated that they don't take commission that affects our premiums. And if they were to take other commissions, they would disclose that. So that was kind of like my iffy, but they don't take commissions that would affect our costs.
So Deb, I'm read between the lines on that. I don't know how to answer that.
We would
question.
have to pursue that for
Yeah.
more detail before we
Mr.
would
Chairman?
consider that vendor.
Exactly. It's not apples and apples. Thank you.
Okay. Mavis, did you have a question?
Right, so it seems like there's almost a conflict of interest there, a non-disclosed conflict of interest if they're taking commissions in the back office. But I would say for the moment, and I think Jamie's saying maybe in 2 years, we can be in a better position to maybe change this is like changing horses in midstream to me. And it sounds like we're saving money on our own administrative costs because this is a known quantity and the data we're getting is something we don't have to relearn all over again. So it sounds to me like it's prudent for us to stay with this. But this is Assured Partners we want to stay with, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And I could go along with this. I can support you on that. What is the difference in the fees from last year to this year?
Let's just call it $10,000.
Yes.
From what to what?
From, I think it's 12,000. I think it's 96,000 to 108,000, but I can verify that and email it to you if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is one of those arguments that we hear all the time here in the county that, you know, they're only raising their fees once every, how many years? Like 5 years?
Yeah.
5.
So if they'd been taking 1%, like
They have
we
not.
could be doing.
Yeah.
I can go along with this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And I really do need this, please. I need this from a committee, not me twisting people's arms or not saying this is the fiefdom of Cliff. I need the committee to honestly, in their heart of hearts, say, this is the right thing to do, or this is the wrong thing to do. And that's
I
what
think
Jamie.
I think this is the professional thing to do.
Okay. Thank you, Mavis. Mo, any input on this?
Ask you, what did finance department say?
I don't know. You know what? That's a great question. I don't think that they chimed in on the final. They just gave us guidance on how to go about doing it.
Right. They gave us guidance on the process. They accepted the proposals through BidNet and then forwarded them to us, but they did not make a comment on choice of vendor.
And Mo, their entire team was great. And Maria? Is that the nice lady's
Maria
name?
Calamia, she was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
the
been
purchasing
fantastic
department was
and-
amazing.
And Joe Onzik, like, punched me in the nose with the most velvet glove you've ever seen. And it was, I appreciated the education. So,
Let's see.
Mark, you got anything?
I think what I can tell you is that, you know, our approach has been prudent and is defensible. Is that maybe part of what you're looking for, Cliff? Is it?
Absolutely what I don't want anybody from the board or from the public coming back saying, you manipulated something. No, I didn't. We started on a 6-year plan. We're 4 years into it. We need another 2 to figure it out and finish it up. And then we'll go to an honest RFP because we'll know, the saying, you don't know what you don't know. Well, we're still discovering. And I believe in 18 months.
Before you testify that way, let's everything about it's honest.
Okay.
So let's not refer to it as we're going to become honest. The approach of a 5 to 6 year plan is, I mean, we can go back. It was memorialized. We said that this is the track that we're going to be on, and cheapest isn't best. Best value is just that. Doesn't always have the smallest dollar figure attached to it. You can amortize this increase that they're asking for now over the years. You can look at it a lot of different ways. It is all defensible.
Thank you, Mark.
To our colleagues, to staff, to the public, the taxpayers, to everybody involved. We're taking a very careful approach, and we've done our due diligence. We've gone out, we've asked for information from others and bids, and we've looked at them. And that in itself is an important part of the process, even if you're saying no to them right now. It's an introduction to them and, you know, both directions. And this process never ends. 2 years from now, we will be doing this again across the board, and again, 2 or 3 years after that, and on, you know, with boards populated by people other than us, because that's the nature of it. You know this, Cliff, you live in this world.
Yep.
We've done the right thing. It's not the time to switch right now. And
Hear,
this
hear.
whole process will help us create the next RFQ and RFP so that it is written in a way that serves us best. So
Well said.
we're
And
fine.
And just so the committee understands and all the other, my colleagues that are online listening, I do value what Mark said. Mark had shared this committee years ago. I also reached out to Bill Leonard, who was the chair prior to me. I sought Bill's input on this before speaking and moving forward. Bill is resounding exactly what Mark and I are saying. And I believe we have his support moving, you know, without hesitation on this. So I thank you. Did I miss anybody to chime in at all? I think
Yeah,
everybody-
Mr. Chairman, can I,
Well, I'm sorry, Mo, you put your hand up there?
Yeah, I would say if you want to go ahead, that's fine, but we should put a caveat that next time it would be automatic RFP. There should be no discussion.
I'm actually okay with that.
Absolutely.
It will be because
Okay.
it'll exceed 30,000. I mean, it is how we conduct things. And
It will be automatic.
Yeah, well, I guess my understanding of this, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is we could entertain this as a multi-year contract and stretch this at least 4 years, push our luck and go 6 years. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we need 18 months more to finish up our original project. And at the 24-month mark, absolutely, this should go to RFP. And if I didn't make that clear before, but Mo, by virtue of the contract, it will automatically require an RFP at the end of 2 years. Am I mistaken, Jamie, or no?
As it's currently written, it's a 2-year contract, and then there are options for extensions that the county could choose to extend if they wanted to without going out for additional RFP. However, we can remove that if the county would like to.
I'm okay as is, but I mean, okay. Deb, did you have something else?
I have a slightly different question. Since what we are looking for here is a specific, a batch of, a batch of data collection, is there a point where instead of an RFP, we're actually looking for an RFQ, where we're asking a professional company to provide us the things that we need? I don't know purchasing enough to know the difference there.
Debbie, I am not well-versed enough to speak between those two things. Jamie, are you?
Because the annualized cost of the service is over $30,000, it requires an RFP. An RFQ would be for services between the micro purchase of $10,000 and then the $30,000 mark.
What does RFQ stand for? Roger?
Request for quotations.
No, request for qualifications.
qualifications.
That's what we
Oh, I'm
use
sorry.
when we're, that's okay, Jamie. It's when we're looking for architects or engineering services, that kind of thing, professional services.
You know, Roger just walked in the room. He's going to speak just for a quick second on that.
And
So
he will know the
for-
answer to this.
Professional services, usually like for transportation, they'll do qualifications-based selection. So they strictly do not purchase based on price. They purchase based on who they want to partner with based on their qualifications. And you can do that through the purchasing department. You just.
Does that have a dollar threshold limit to it?
Usually you're seeking qualifications to evaluate their qualifications, kind of like an interview process.
Okay.
And then once you decide who you want to partner with and contract with, then you set a contract with a value not to exceed or, type of a threshold. It's not based on a specific proposal value. It's not a fixed-
Jamie's looking at me as I may have just stepped in that bucket.
It's not a fixed price proposal.
Okay.
It could be. You could have a fixed price proposal for a different type of service, but
Okay.
fixed
Mm.
fee or fixed price, but you can do it based on qualifications and an amount not to exceed.
Thank you, Roger.
I'm sorry, I think I had misunderstood the question. So in that case, that's for the hiring of an independent contractor, though.
It's
Is that correct?
Engineering services, professional services, in general, you can hire based on qualifications.
Interesting.
Okay, I can look into that
Never
option.
stop
So
learning,
that's
yeah.
not what I had discussed with purchasing.
Okay.
Was a different
Nor,
process.
nor I at all. I'm being really honest. I
It's really different between, are you buying a product or something that, you know, you can put a price to, or are you buying, setting up services at.
And
fixed
Roger,
rates?
you walked in, but I had prefaced this discussion with, this is not a commodity. I'm buying a relationship. And somehow, to me, the RFP seemed like we're going out
Oh.
to see which truck we can get from the cheapest dealership.
Yeah, sometimes you can ask for them to propose their rates. What are your rates for your different types of talents? And you can compare their rate schedules.
I would be way more comfortable going in that direction. just
Mr.
personally.
Chair,
Yes, Mavis.
this sounds much better. And maybe this is what we needed, what we should have done in the first place. But-
I am so happy that my committee is smarter than me as a whole. I appreciate
Well,
that.
but we're not smarter, faster.
Yeah.
Not smarter,
Not a
faster.
race. So Jamie, what do you need from, and just in transparency, we told Assured Partners, we're not going to meet your deadline and we're not going to have an answer for you. So we've asked them to extend their deadline 30 days and they graciously did that. So we don't have any gun to our head proverbially on this. But Jamie, we don't have this as a resolution. If we can package this up for next meeting.
Yes, we don't actually need a resolution at this point, but we're hoping to have a resolution for you in the next meeting because we got that extension. But I will definitely review that with purchasing. It sounds like what Roger is referring to is a different direction than purchasing had originally advised us. So I will get in touch with them regarding, which process and some details about which process is
But
the
you
right process.
have enough information and consensus. So this is not Cliff to Jamie. This is a committee to a department. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Fabulous. Thanks, guys. All right. And Jamie, while you're up, the student loan assistance policy, I am unfamiliar with what.
We talked about this last meeting briefly. This is just a suggestion that had come forward about offering an additional benefit to employees for retention purposes to provide some kind of student loan assistance. So again, this isn't for vote. This is just for feedback. So I'm not looking for a vote here, but just any comments that anyone on the committee might have if this is a direction they want to continue to look.
So if I can summarize this, somebody had the notion that if we were interviewing new people and we said, hey, listen, we do have a stipend that we could give to help offset some of your student loans, this might be a good idea in our hiring process. The dollar amount was way small, like, is it $250?
250 is suggested here. I think that there would be a lot of takers to this, and I think that total cost would increase rapidly. There's really no way to know exactly how many employees would be interested in this that have student loans, but student loans are kind of a way of life right now. So I think you'd
wait.
have a lot.
So what you're suggesting, what I just heard you say is this isn't for a new hire. This is something we would give to existing employees as well.
Yes, anyone with a student loan for a degree that is something that they got for the purpose of the job they do for the county. So it does have to be a work-related degree.
And how would you define that? If I went to school and got a bachelor's of science in business administration, I might tell you that was specific to my role here and I should get my $250.
Doesn't have to be specific to your role here. It just has to be something you're using in your role at the county.
Okay. Now, in our last conversation, I addressed the committee by saying, this is where I am at and I am very in favor of this and hope we can get some consensus. I look at this as being something that I am not favorable with personally. And I will voice that, but as with the other one, I am looking for consensus from within the committee. I think we're opening up a Pandora's box with this, and I believe, while I believe $250 is a gesture, it is $250 for a person with thousands of dollars of student loans is nothing more than a gesture. And I don't see the, I'm not in favor of this, but I will go around the horn on this one as well. Deb, have you read anything about this? And we're not looking for anything, we can chew on this and come back next month with it, but I just wanted to at least get it out there.
Thank you for getting it out there. It seems to me like it's a tiny amount. I'm interested in the comment that it would make us a more sensitive employer. So I would like to have more discussion on it, Cliff. I also don't want to sign us up for an extra $100,000 of budget, but I just like to have more conversation. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kenyon raised his hand.
Could we research it and see what others are doing? Other governments?
We have done that. There are 2 collar counties that currently use a program like this, McHenry County and Lake County.
And they give?
Similar dollar amounts?
I believe Lake County does 1,000, and I believe, I can't remember what McHenry does, but I can look and come back with that. But it is a smaller amount, but Lakes was quite high.
And if we're going to do that, I would look at things like what is their attrition rate versus our attrition rate? What, how is their turnover compared to our turn? I would want a little bit more. If we're going to
Look
spend,
at our state's attorney's office. They complain that they can't compete. But this would be a nice way to compete because it's not taxable.
I agree.
It is not taxable?
I don't know that that's.
It is presently not taxable, but I believe that is a part of one of the acts recently passed, and it has an expiration date, I think, in like 5 years, and then it becomes taxable again. But I can research that further as well. It's presently not taxable, that I know for sure.
Mr. Chairman, Bates,
Ms.
please.
Bates, yes.
Do we have any idea how many employees we have who would be eligible for this?
I don't know that there's any way to accurately estimate that.
Could we ask them to tell us?
Oh, God.
I don't know that we would get an accurate response. So I don't know that we would ever, I don't know that there's any way to get good enough data to truly estimate
You have to
that.
come to the building for the form.
What you would do is you would assign, you would budget a certain dollar amount for that. And then it would be first come, first serve. And when it's exhausted, it's done to make sure you didn't exceed it. I believe that's what's written into it. Once the budgeted amount is exhausted, then awards stop for the
And
year.
what is the budgeted amount? Is that?
We don't
given
have a
the-
budgeted amount right now. So we would have to discuss
Yeah, we're
what we
just
wanted
kicking
that
it
to be.
around,
So
yeah.
this is just very exploratory, which is why it's not up for a vote. There's a lot more research to be done on it. I just wanted feedback from the committee as we go through the process about how much work they want to explore into this and what kind of research they would like.
Mo,
Mr.
any
Chairman?
thoughts?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm opposed to this. I believe there's an admin cost of administering this thing. And we should not get into it. Most probably it would be taxable to the employee. And so whatever it is, we should have it in the wages, not in these gimmicks.
Repeat that, Mo, please. I couldn't get the last sentence.
Well, eventually it would be, I think it was part of his income or her income, number one. And number two, we are rewarding the debtors and not the people who have already paid off. So we are discriminating right there. I don't think we should go into their financing. Just pay the wages that are fair and equitable. That's it. And why?
And
should-
I'm going to encourage all of you to have conversations amongst yourselves. I mean, Mavis, call Mo, call Mark, let's, Davis, you got anything?
This looks like a great opportunity to shoot ourselves in the foot.
You got it.
Ouch.
Gums has a comment, Mr. Chair.
Wait your turn,
You know,
Gums. Davis, finish up.
Mark, hurry up.
At 250, it's like, well, we're only going to drive the nail in a little ways. We can take it up to 1,000 and maybe get it all the way through our foot. But you got to administer this thing. It's gonna, are you ever going to make everybody happy with it, with the amount? Mo has a couple of good points about, well, I already paid mine off. Now I missed the boat. I'm not convinced that this represents a very significant amount compared to what most people have in loans. So job retention seems like an unlikely aspect to me. I don't know where the push came for this to find a way to give away more money, but I don't like it.
Okay. Michelle, welcome.
Hi there. I've been listening to you all. You sound fabulous. This giggle cracks me up when I'm sitting here. I love it. Anyways, so I don't like the idea. I think it's
I'm sorry, you do or do not?
I do not like this particular idea. I like the premise of the idea, and I apologize for barging in on your committee. But when you're talking about retention and things that matter to employees, I don't think this is on the top of their priority list. That's just my personal opinion. I think you want to help retain employees. You might want to look at maybe giving a county-wide holiday out there. Everybody wants a day off. So just something to think about. I don't like this idea.
I think Gummy's point is, and my point specifically for you, Jamie, is this an acquisition tool or a retention tool or both? And I'm not seeing which, I'm trying to determine which one this benefits, and I don't see it yet. So
I think it's designed to be both. I agree that the amount is a little low to really persuade anyone if they had other options. I just felt that going any higher than that would be too costly given the number of employees the county has. So again, this was a suggestion and just trying to vet whether the county felt that it was something they wanted to pursue or the committee felt they wanted to pursue.
I think you have clear as mud that you do not have consensus on this, and we will continue some conversations.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So you know what I hate? I hate unintended consequences. And I think Mr. Davis and Mr. Iqbal are, saying, what about unintended consequences, such as people who have paid off their loans getting, angry that they didn't get a bonus. I think we could look at what's happening with our ARP money to the big six mental health providers in King County. They are going to use their ARP money to provide ongoing retention bonuses to all of their employees. And I forget how much it was, but it might be $1,000. I can't grab that email quickly. But if we are giving money to other organizations to do retention bonuses, I think it's logical that we could do it ourselves as well and not make it a contingent on student loans, like Mo said, but just a thank you for not leaving us bonus.
Mavis, again, when I heard that information yesterday, the first thing that came to my mind was acquisition or retention. And I believe they were trying to split hairs as to where that money was going to be used. But to me, it seemed like they just didn't have enough staff on to meet the demand. And
are you talking about the big six?
yes.
Okay.
And that money, in my opinion, should have been spent boosting and for acquisition of new people. And I think, as we continue discussing this, we can grind this to infinitum, the chicken or the egg sort of thing. But Jamie, I think you have what you need. We are not in agreement on this, and we need to continue discussing this.
Mr. Chairman, research and bring it back, or
Hang on one second, Ken.
were you looking for me to do further research and bring more information?
I think if the committee will allow me, I'll reach out to everybody individually and then get back something to you that we can bring to the committee next month,
Okay.
if that's okay with everybody.
Yes,
Ken, did you
we
have
need-
something?
we
I
need
just
more
had
discussion.
a question or a comment. Isn't the issue of bonuses heavily tied into collective bargaining, ongoing negotiations?
Boy,
I don't know that, but we'll look into that as well for next month.
is that the Me Too clause?
Well, that could be, among other things, the Me Too clause, but it also, I would think, would implicate union versus non-union employees, how is that handled, et cetera. I just think that's probably a term and condition of employment and therefore would have to be bargained for.
More unintended consequences.
Yep.
I think
Yes,
unless it's a countywide issue, I think you're right, Mr. Shepro. But if you did it as a countywide, all employee covered issue, then that would be outside
Just
the
a
purview of
reminder, when we're
contract.
Zooming, make sure you state who you are so everybody has an idea.
It was
Although-
gummy.
It was Gummy. Perfect. All right, Jamie, I think we have what we need on this. I know we're already past old business and we're ready to get out of here, but I spoke with you yesterday or maybe earlier in the week. Do we have an update on the MERP arbitration? Did we get anything on that yet?
Nothing's been scheduled.
Okay. Okay, just a reminder, we had a department ask for a couple of things regarding MERP that we weren't able to accommodate. And the agreement was we should let this go to arbitration. This is, I see both sides, I get it. And in order for us to help one person, we would disenfranchise 20 others. And so it was best left to go to an arbitrator, so. Okay. All right, Mike Kenyon, motion to place reports on file.
Yes.
Mavis, second.
Second,
Any discussion?
nope.
Karen?
Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, aye.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis, Sturgis.
Sturgis, yes.
Passes.
For executive session, Mr. Kenyon, I believe you are up, sir.
A motion to adjourn.
Davis, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.